You can have whatever you want. It is a mantra for me. I live by it. It is true. Welcome back to the Humaning Well podcast. My name is Amber Cabral. This is episode 3 of the Get Grounded capsule series, and it has absolutely been the hardest one because I'm so passionate about this and I want to make sure that I get it right. So today we're going to talk about you can have whatever you want. For those of you who follow me on social, you have seen me posting that for years. If you follow me and watch my Instagram stories, there was a time where I probably posted it every single day. Very much something that I say very often, and people are like, ooh, that's interesting. Tell me more about that. So I've been talking about it for years. I even had a podcast called You Can Have Whatever You Want. And what I'm going to try to do in this episode is give you some direction on like how to make that real. Okay. Some of you have heard some of this story that I'm going to share, but this is a new podcast and it bears repeating and you haven't heard all of it. So I'll just kind of give you the backstory on where You Can Have Whatever You Want came from. So back in 2017, I left Walmart. I was trying to figure out what I was going to do next. I walked away from the company with a package. I had a little savings. So I was in a decent space, but like I was super scared to spend any money. I didn't want to get an apartment because I had no idea like how long it would take for me to look for a job. I didn't want to be in a lease and then end up needing to move. And I just had no idea like where I was going. So I ended up moving in with my godparents in Dallas, Pam, God rest her soul, and James. And they had a theater room like at the top level of their home. And so it had a private bathroom. And then it was like, it got pitch black dark because the theater room. And so it was easy to sleep. Like it was perfect place for me to just like hole up and figure out my life. So I put all of my belongings in storage and basically made that room my home. I started applying for jobs. Well, really continued applying for jobs because when I left Walmart, I knew it was coming. And so I had already been applying and kind of already had like a steady flow of interviews, roughly 1 or 2 a week. Times were a little different than they are now. It's like really hard to get interviews. Anyway, I figured 6 months or so, I would have, a job of some kind. But also I was a lot clearer about what I was willing to do or not do. As far as in a professional setting. And so I was taking my time. Like I was asking, really good questions to the folks I was interviewing with and trying to be very selective about whatever my next opportunity was going to be. Now, if any of you have ever lived with someone, even if they're not rushing you to get out of their house, there is usually this muscle that kicks in that's like, I want to make sure that this person knows that I'm not just like BSing and trying to live with them forever. So in addition to like helping, obviously, I would always like after my interviews, I would go down and talk to my goddad in his office. He's an accountant, and I would talk to him about whatever the opportunity was. And I would, kind of run it by him and tell him what was, the deal and what I thought of the interview. And I would ask him what he thought, and he would listen to me very carefully. And then he would ask me, is that what you want to do? And I would always answer that by saying, well, here's where my reservations are, and here's what I'm unsure about, or here's what I'm not sure if I want to do. Because the funny thing is that's the way I heard what he was asking. I thought he was asking me to tell him like what my reservations were. And occasionally I might even like playfully reply like, well, what I want is to not be sleeping on your theater room floor, And he would almost every time say the same exact thing. Like, you don't have to rush. Do what you want to do. Don't just take any job. You are in a position where you have a moment to make a choice for yourself. What do you want? It took far more times than I care to admit, but one of those times I popped down to his office and I finally heard him say, what do you want to do? You can have whatever you want. What is that? And it just hit me differently. So I went back up to my corner of the house and I literally sat down and asked myself, what do I want? And it changed everything. Everything. My very next interview, I was, kind of at this point where I was like, I don't think I'm interviewing anymore. I'm not applying for any more jobs. I think I'm done. And I think this isn't it. But I had an interview in the pipeline with Google. So I'm like, yeah, I'm going to go through my Google interview. And I was like, this was like my 4th interview, like I was in the rounds. And so I was so much clearer about what I wanted after actually thinking about what he said to me that I asked better questions. I pressed for more insight. And honestly, after not hearing what I wanted to hear in that interview, I ended it. And I was just like, hey, I think I should pull myself out of the candidate pool. I don't think this is the right opportunity for me. I'm deeply grateful for the opportunity, but this isn't right for me. And I even perhaps have some recommendations for you on people that might be better for the role. And I remember walking away from that call like, who are you? Like, who turns down Google? Like, what are you doing? But it was me. And I knew what I wanted. And what I wanted was to take a stab at doing culture and equity work on my own. I wanted to do the work that I was trying to convince people that I could do and that needed to be done in these interviews on my own. And I didn't want to have to adhere to the confines of like, whatever leadership mindsets they had or, whatever performance assessments were going on. But I wanted to operate kind of independently. And I was like, this is consulting. That's what I want to do. I want to share what I know, and give the guidance to get that thing done. And I knew I could do it and I wanted to do it. So my first company, Cabral Co, already existed, but I hadn't ever worked for it full time. And I just decided, you know what, I'm just going to go for it and work full time. So I stopped applying for jobs. And within 3 months, I landed my first contract. 3 months. What's crazy is I didn't even work that contract, but I still got paid for it. Okay. Because like something happened on their end, but they had already signed the agreement. So they had to still pay me for the work, but I actually didn't even do the work. Crazy times. Anyway, 3 months after that, I had gotten enough contracts that I matched my Walmart salary. Then a year from starting all of that, I had earned 5 times my Walmart salary. And I was like, oh, this is it, right? Now, this is the big want story, okay? But I want to share a few little ones that happened kind of along the way, right? I wanted to work with well-known brands. I wanted my company to be the little company that you were like, I want to work with that person because I was that good. So I positioned myself to be appealing to those folks because I worked for a big brand. I worked for Walmart. And to date, my past and current clients include mostly companies that people know and have heard of: Apple, Calvin Klein, Amazon, Gap, Supreme, Wells Fargo, like brands right? And that is the level of credibility that I wanted. And I got it, right? I wanted to build that for myself and I got it. So when I finally moved out of my godparents' home, the other thing I knew I wanted was an apartment where I didn't have to have a car. I do not like to drive. I am from the Motor City. I like driving as in I like cars, but I don't like driving as in sharing the road with people. And so I knew if I was going to move to DC or the DMV area, I didn't want to drive. So I ended up finding an apartment. It was exactly what I wanted. It was 2 blocks from the line between DC and downtown Silver Spring. So I lived in downtown Silver Spring and I was literally walking distance from the Red Line train. Plus I had a sunset view because I wanted that. I wanted to be able to have a little bit of a view. And I lived within 5 minutes walk to the grocery store. So I totally didn't have to have a car. I could just run down to the grocery store. It was nothing. All of this came in super handy also because I was there during COVID and I could get to the grocery store. I didn't have to have a car. I didn't feel like I was trapped by my vehicle, which was great. And what's funny is I think I had a car when I initially got there, but I never drove it and ended up turning the car in early. Then when I left DC, I asked for an apartment with a sunset view because I was going back to Atlanta and I had fell in love with my sunset view when I was in DC. Boom, got an apartment, sunset view, done. Okay. When I had to leave that apartment because of some things that happened in that building, the vibe of the building changed, blah, blah, blah. I got really specific about what I wanted. I decided what I wanted on a Saturday night. Okay. I found my place the following Sunday. It was exactly what I wanted, okay? And my old place let me out of my lease with no penalties, returned my security deposit, and here we are. I got what I wanted again, okay? This is a long, meandering way for me to say you can have whatever you want. It is a mantra for me. I live by it. It is true. When I'm consistent about reminding myself, and I will explain what that means and how that looks, it seems like my life cannot wait to show me all of the ways that it's true. But I've also learned that you can have whatever you want to work, you have to do certain things. You also can't get to what you want and then let go of your practices when you get there. As life will eagerly hand you whatever is available if you stop living with intention. So it's like you can have whatever you want, has to be like your state of mind from now until the duration. Okay, this is long-term stuff here. So in this episode, I'm going to share with you what I do and what I think you can do to start having more of what you want in your life. This does take effort. It is simple, not easy, but I'm going to just give it to you the way that I do it and hope. I mean, again, this is the episode I would want. All right. So first, a lot of us were taught that wanting is selfish or it's greedy or you're being unrealistic. And if you happen to be a person who is a member of a marginalized community, this may even be more of the case for you, right? We have been taught to be grateful for what we have and do what we can to keep it. But like wanting is like, yeah, right. Like it can be framed as kind of almost like doing too much. You know, if you're in the Black community, you've probably heard, people in hell want ice water, or, do you have McDonald's money? So like, what we have to realize though, is that these are more than just culture tags. They are ideas that shape our minds and how we see what we can expect from the world. It's informing you from moment to moment. If that is the mindset that you grew up in and you're still carrying, what ends up happening is we end up becoming experts at knowing what we don't want, but we're a little bit clueless about what we actually do want. That is why the very first step to having whatever you want is giving yourself permission to want. Let go of the stories, let go of the past, those things that do not support the idea that you get to want things. You gotta let that stuff go. Consider the times instead when life really handed you abundance or blessings or joy. And when you are telling stories about yourself, highlight those things. Highlight the wins, highlight the abundance, highlight the rewards. Then you start to program your brain to like, I get good things, okay? So what did you want that you actually received? Not, we don't have McDonald's money, okay? And when you're thinking about that, like, can you actually feel it in your being? Like this idea that wanting is accessible to you. This is a feeling thing. It is a process that you have to like say to yourself, you know what? I can sense this. This is accessible. I get to want things. This is my life. And if you're finding it hard to give yourself permission to want things, first of all, don't beat yourself up. That makes it worse. And that's a normal thing to struggle with. But just remind yourself, this is your life. And when you don't take advantage of the say that you have over it, you're reactive instead of intentional. You're responding to what comes to you instead of being intentional about what you receive. You end up living a life that is based on avoiding having a hard time instead of creating the abundance you want. You end up settling for the options that are available instead of designing the kinds of outcomes that feel really good to you. And most importantly, you begin to believe that life is happening to you instead of happening for you. Because life is actually happening for you. Okay? You were an intentional choice. And this is a mindset shift. Okay? So if it feels kind of woo-woo and whimsical, like I get it, but your brain has to go first. Okay? So this is a mindset shift, and I'm going to give you an exercise. I'm going to give you a workbook for this episode as well that will help you with giving yourself permission to want, like a practice that you can go through, because it is a practice and it is something that you have to work on. Okay, that's step one. Very meaty step one, but step one, give yourself permission to want. Step two, once you've given yourself permission to want and you feel good about that, you need to find some time to sit quietly and answer the following questions. Number one, what do I want? Name the thing. Okay, name it. Define whatever it is. Number two, why do I want it? What's the feeling? What's the purpose? What's the value? What's the outcome that it provides? Why do you want that thing? Number three, what is the essence of that want? So is it you're trying to get to something reliable? Is it that you're looking for peace? Is it that you think it'll bring you joy? Is it that it will give you recognition or ease? What's the essence of it? Okay, so let me give you some examples of what this looks like. So like my want could be, I want a promotion at my job. I want a promotion. And my why is because I want to feel more recognized and I want to earn more money. The essence of what I really want is to feel valued, to have financial ease, and to probably boost my confidence. Okay, so the want is a promotion, but what I really want is to feel valued, to have access to financial ease, to feel confident in my position, and know people, can rely on me. Another example, maybe your want is, I want to start my own business. Why do you want to do that? Well, because I want to have more control of my time. I want to work on things that I really care about. That's how I would probably describe why I started my business. The essence of that is actually autonomy and purpose, and also probably some creative expression. So like, I want to be free. I want freedom. I want autonomy over my time. I want a sense of purpose. I want to be able to express myself and do the things I know I can do. Okay. So the want is to start your own business, but the essence of that is I want autonomy. I want purpose. And so we have to think about what the essence is. And this can work for anything. It could be working out. It could be a romantic partner. Why do you want a romantic partner? Because I want the, opportunity to share my life experiences and to feel loved in a romantic way. The essence of what I want then is connection and intimacy and companionship. Now, it's super important that we get to this essence, okay? And I'm going to help you understand why in a moment, but you got to get to that essence part because it's critical to you getting to what you want. And sometimes I have found it easier to get to the essence by asking myself, how do I want my life to feel? Or how do I want that to feel? Okay. So how do I want it to feel if I have a relationship? How do I want it to feel if I'm working out consistently? How do I want it to feel if I start my own business? And that sometimes helps me get to that essence a little bit easier. Here's the thing. This may take some time, especially if you just got to the point where you have given yourself permission to want. Taking the time and getting your wants down, why you want it, and then the essence part, give yourself some grace on that. All right. Don't rush it. Take your time. It takes a couple of days. If it takes a week, it's okay. It's your life. You got time. Okay. Step 3. Now that you have your wants, okay, you have to do what's necessary to draw them to you. Okay. And I'm going to give you the steps for that. Because this isn't just, all right, I made my list, and then the world hands it to you, okay? We have to do some intentional things so that we even notice it when it shows up. So the first thing is figure out what meditation looks like for you. Relax, get quiet, meditative, whatever that is, you want to put yourself in that state of mind, and then visualize the essence and the form of what you want. Okay. So if I go back to, you really want to start your own business, or, you really want a promotion, the essence was, I want to feel valued. I want financial ease. I want confidence. All right. That's the essence of what you're really looking for. You want to visualize yourself with that promotion. You want to visualize it in your brain the way that you want it. Okay. But you want to picture that essence. Then you want to feel it. How do I feel about it? Not needing it. We don't want that hungry craving. Oh my God, I got to get this a promotion. What am I going to do? You want more of the, oh my gosh, I have the promotion. I can see the benefit for my life. I can experience the relief. You want to have more of a welcoming energy. So feel yourself having it. Then you want to affirm. I am magnetic to having access to, and then you put your essence in there. Okay. So in this case, if it is, I'm looking for a promotion, I am magnetic to feeling valued. I'm magnetic to financial ease. I am magnetic to having confidence. If it was starting your own business, it's, I am magnetic to having autonomy over my own time. I am magnetic to having purpose. I am magnetic to being able to express myself creatively. Okay. And then you can follow it up with some other good affirming language. Good things come easily to me. I can have whatever I want. Affirm it though. All right. We're programming our brain. This is neuroscience here. We want to make sure that we're doing that. The next step is you got to let it go. So, we don't want to get to the point of needing it and we're obsessing about it and we're watching for that promotion. All right. But we're not watching for the essence. We're not watching for the things that oh, I'm really looking for this financial freedom. We're not watching for that. We're just watching for the promotion. Detach yourself from needing it to show up exactly how you imagined it. Your visualization absolutely can be a promotion happening in your current job, but we want to be open to the possibility that it could be a whole new job altogether and it could be even better than you thought. Okay. And we don't want to miss that because we're so committed to, I'm going to get a promotion in this job. This is why we got to have that essence. What is the feeling that I'm looking for? Because sometimes what happens is you don't necessarily get the promotion. But you get something that's a little better, that makes you feel valued, that gives you the financial ease, and also gives you the confidence. And you don't even have to like do anything different at work. It could come a completely different way. And that's why we want to be clear about what is it that I want to feel? What is it that I want to feel? And then release ourselves from it actually showing up exactly how we imagined it. Be open to the possibility it could be something else. And then the last part here, you got to move with intention. Okay, you got to move with intention. All of the stuff we just talked about up to this point is in your brain, and your brain is a big part of this experience. But in your real life, outside of your meditative state, you have to take the actions that signal that you're moving toward the thing you want. Nothing drops in your lap. You have to actively participate. And so if you want the promotion, you have to start doing the things a person who gets a promotion would do. You know, the things that align with your values. That could be making sure that you're always delivering your best quality of work. It could be making sure that you're being a good business partner. It could be practicing good communication. You have to do those things. And when you start doing things, make sure you don't start doing something that you actually do not want to keep doing to get promoted, such as like working weekends or taking on work that's not really yours because you're trying to get additional attention. Because if you do that, you may end up getting the promotion, but you'll also get that extra work. Okay. So don't take on something you don't actually want to do, but you do have to start taking the action. Like, what would it look like for me to deliver my best work? What would it look like for me to really be committed to making sure that I'm building strong relationships across the business or whatever it needs to be? How are you activating it outside of what's happening in your brain? So we're still going to do the brain stuff, but the action has to happen as well. These 3 steps, they're meaty steps. Repeat them every day. If you can, multiple times a day. Bake this routine into your habits. Like, take 15 minutes, intentionally sit down and run through these steps and be delusional about your willingness to believe in yourself. All right. If you need to make it a game that you play where it's like, okay, I need to try to do this every single day for the next 30 days or whatever, do that. But do it consistently, all of it. Now, I have a few important notes for like how this actually works. The first one is start with something that you actually can imagine yourself having fully. You might be inclined to say, you know what I want? I want a couple $1 million. That's what I want. It would make my life so much easier. And, you know, you kind of have the ability to get to like why you want it. And you may even sort of have a sense of like the essence, like, oh, it would give me financial freedom. It would allow me to travel. I'd be able to support family. But if you can't actually imagine yourself with a couple $1 million, like as in you're still struggling to pay your day-to-day bills in your current situation, you're not really going to be able to feel the essence of that being available to you, right? So it's going to be very hard for you to like action toward it. So you want to start accessible, which might be, I want to earn enough to make sure that I can easily cover my monthly bills. That might be where your starting point is. And so let's make sure that we're starting at a place that's like, you can actually feel it. You can envision it. You can touch it. You can smell it. You can taste it. When you sit and you go into your meditative space, you can actually get to that thing. Second thing I want you to keep in mind, every single time a want is fulfilled, it gives you the capacity to receive even more. All right. Because you're getting better at it. So as you see things unfold, you get to want a little bigger. So you might get to the point where it's like, oh my God, monthly bills are handled. You know, I think I want to try to see if I can make, I don't know, X many thousands of dollars a month. You can reach for that because your capacity does grow. You get to want things a little bigger, but don't forget, you still get to want smaller things too. And those things you can still draw to you, but you do grow capacity as you have wants show up. Each time you fulfill one, you get an opportunity to go a little bit bigger. Third thing I want you to keep in mind, you can have whatever you want is not always going to mean that you are in constant overflow. It will not necessarily mean that there are going to be times where you don't find yourself like, you know, you're going to have to work harder, you know, maybe than you might have before. You're going to have seasons where it feels difficult, like you're walking through jello. It will not mean that once you get a really, really big want, that every single want that comes after that will be even bigger. Okay. Sometimes you're going to get some small wants in the process on your journey. And so this is mindset work. And it's based on what our brains can do and how our brains work. That means it's also a bit imperfect because humans are imperfect. I'll give you a little bit of data to kind of support that. There's a study that talks about how there was a group of people who did not work out, control group, did their thing, lived their lives. There was another group that did not work out, but was asked to meditate, I think it was 10 minutes a day, and envision themselves actually working out. At the end of the study, the people who thought about it in their brains actually lost weight. Like your mind, super powerful. We got to get that mindset right. But the consistency, the same way we have like issues with consistency with going to the gym, we also have consistency with like doing the things that our brain benefits from us doing. We get that one big want and we can slide off, right? We can stop doing the things that were working for us. And so just be aware that this is a consistent lifelong practice. And that is, tough because humans struggle with consistency. Another note that I think is important to keep in mind too is you want to make sure that you guard your energy. You might find that you can't hang around the same folks anymore. You might find that certain mindsets are disruptive to you. You may find that you don't want to complain as much or you don't want to listen to certain types of music anymore. Honor what your energy needs because you're getting closer to the life that you want to experience, and your body, your brain is going to crave the things that are going to feel good in that life. All right. So in the life that you're headed to, you've got to be ready. You've got to be resilient for it. And so you may find that there are some shifts in your preferences in that way. And then the last note that I think I want to say, stay generous and grateful in the ways that you can. Nothing creates more energy around your wants than being grateful for what you have and being as generous as you possibly can be. And I don't mean generous to your own detriment or to the point of degradation. Like, I don't want you to like give things away to the point you're in poverty or, be so, grateful that, it almost feels like you are degrading yourself. We don't have to do that. But I do think you want to practice both gratefulness and making sure that you are being as generous as you possibly can. Now, please know, wanting isn't entitlement. All right. It is just a declaration of what's aligned with your purpose. You get to want things. You do. And you deserve those things as long as you believe you do and you are operating in the energy that can magnetize it toward you. You can have whatever you want. I am living proof. I live a life that as a child, I could not have possibly imagined. I live a life that my parents could not have imagined. It is because of how I use my mind and my energy behind it. But you must know and believe that you are worthy of it. Okay, you gotta do it. That's your part. And this stuff, again, simple, not easy. All right, again, you get a workbook for this one. This is the episode. I do have a few announcements that I want to share with you. Number one, surprise, I'm going to go live, which when you're listening to this, it will be tomorrow, Thursday, July 16th at 6 p.m. Eastern. So if you want to chat about this episode or any episode really, you can hop on and we can talk about it. I'll share more details by the time this episode goes up. There will probably be some posts or something on LinkedIn and Instagram for how you can join, but I'll probably be live on Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube all at the same time. First time trying this, new things, yay. Okay. Second, if you want the workbook for this episode, you can find it on humaningwellpodcast.com under resources. If you didn't catch that, don't worry. You can go down into the show notes and there's a link for humaningwellpodcast.com. You can click that. You'll see resources. It'll take you over to the place where you can get the resources for this. You'll get the workbook for this episode. And if you want the workbook for the last episode, you can get that too. But again, show notes. And if you'd like, you can subscribe there. And I think it will alert you whenever I post something over there that you can download. Third, I am teaching a class. The class is called Confident Conversations in Complex Times, Navigating Boundaries, Accountability, and Tough Topics with Grace and Clarity. The class will be on July 29th at 1 p.m. If you're interested in signing up for that, you can go to ambercabral.com and register to attend. Also, ambercabral.com link is in the show notes. So if you're not sure how to spell my name, Cabral, but you can also go down to the show notes. And when I say pay what you can, all right, this course is a pay what you can course. Okay. It is not free, but it is pay what you can, but you can pay as little as 50 cents and still get access. Fourth note. Okay. I feel like I'm giving the church minutes at this point. If you find this podcast helpful, please share it, play it, download it, whatever, comment, like, subscribe, but absolutely share it. Okay. So thank you so much for listening. Next week, we are going to do episode 4 of 5 of the capsule, and it's going to be about practicing not feeling shame. You may find as you're going through this episode's activities that you run into a little shame about wanting things. We're going to talk about how to get through that. All right. And I promise it won't be as long as the last 2 episodes. This one and the last one have been pretty long. And I thank you so much for listening. I can't wait to see you next week.